So welcome to the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation, Ronald Reagan Library underneath the tail, the wings of Air Force One. This is an amazing place. We're glad you're here. We have a number of people in the audience today that are, special to our hearts. So as we get started, I just wanted to say thank you to the people who are here. We have educators who are visiting from around the country. Could you raise your hand if you're a visiting educator? Thank you. Alaska, Utah, Florida, Georgia, all over the country. It's amazing to have people here. We have people here from our partner sites. So if you're here and you're one of our partners who had a debate regional, please know we thank you for your hard work. We took, as an education team, a hard look at the debate series, and we purposely sought to expand it this year. So all the education team members in the room, please hold your hand up really high, because these people are the ones who helped us expand this program all over the country. In reality, we went from 5 regionals to, I think, 16 this year, in places where we've never done anything before, like Georgia and Utah, which was amazing. And that brings me to a couple of different things. We have a competition you just saw a video for called the Oratory Competition. We'll tell you more about that as we close tonight, but that's an amazing digital competition for students to take part in who are in middle school and high school, and it opens today, and we'll share more about that later. And we also want to make sure we thank the sponsors for this event. So the scholarship money that we are awarding tonight is furnished by the Conrad Hilton Foundation. They endowed a scholarship for us that we are able to give out $50,000 in scholarships per year for this event. So big round of applause for them. And as we were finishing the debate season this year, we had an interesting meeting in Hawaii on the island of Maui. And I wanted to thank Art and Kathy Basset in the front row for being funders of our Maui Regional for the first time. Thank you. What I love about this program is it brings the importance of conversation, civil discourse, the ability to share an argument and also take feedback about an argument without being critical or being offensive to your opponent in an era where we probably need that more than ever. And I think what you see tonight with our debaters tonight, it'll be amazing and an array of hope for you in terms of what's in store for our future in our country. We have 4 guest judges tonight, so I want to introduce them and have them stand and receive a round of applause. First, Senator Sweeney, please stand. He's a Stanford and Business School graduate, was in the U.S. Marine Corps, and he's been one of our supporters here for as long as I've been here, which is since January of 2004, but way before that. So thank you, Senator, for being a judge. Elise Rogers is a 2-time national qualifier for this very debate series. And Elise is one of our interns this year, along with her counterpart Wes in the back. They are fundamental in our program. They were on the screen for a few minutes beforehand. Elise, thanks for being a judge. Samuel Ma, please stand up. He is competing in public speaking for 7 years. He was one of our finalists in the winter 2 years ago before I arrived. He's here to be a guest judge and also carry on the tradition of our students being part of our programming for years in the future. Thank you for being here. And finally, Representative Doug Welton from Utah. So Doug is an esteemed educator in Utah. He's the debate coach. He teaches high school, and he serves in the Utah House of Representatives, which is hard to believe he can fit all that in. I constantly say, how do you do it all, Doug? But he's a judge for us as well. So before I say pass the baton to our Director of Education Programming, Megan Gately, I want to say one thing real fast. Debaters in the room who came from all over the country, and we are very proud of you. You guys did an amazing job. You represent Ronald Reagan very well, and our hope is that you go on in your future to either compete next year, if you're still in high school, or carry on the traditions of Ronald Reagan debate wherever you may go in the future. Megan Gately, the microphone is yours.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure serving all of you, including the educator group, for one of our best finals. You young people continue to impress me, and I know you will all impress the audience tonight. So, these top two finalists are ready to argue both sides of tonight's resolution. The resolution is resolved: a nationalized system of higher education would best serve the interests of students in the United States. So that is the topic we're going to have a lively debate about. So our two finalists, we are going to flip for sides, which even makes the debate more exciting. Which side are they going to be debating today? So our two finalists, Haight Asher and Jaden Yu, are going to be coming to the stage as Mr. Doug Welton does a coin flip. Haight, you are actually the higher ranking seed, so you are going to call the coin toss when Doug is ready. Drum roll, please. Now keep him honest. He is on the state legislature. Okay. So Ms. Haight Asher, come around here. Mr. Jaden Yu, please join me on stage while they get set up. I'm going to lay a couple of ground rules and best practices about the round we're going to see, as you, the audience, are also going to be engaged. So if you came here to sit back and relax, apologies, that is not the case. So first, though, I want to make sure to ask you to set aside, as you are all going to be part of our judging panel today, set aside your personal opinion about this topic. These students can argue both sides very well, and so these aren't even necessarily their opinions, and you need to do the same. You are here not to weigh in on your own personal thoughts on this issue. You are here to say who presented a better case very much in the style of Ronald Reagan, who persuaded you, who used argumentation, humor, storytelling, and who really presented a fabulous presentation of their side. Focus on how the argument is crafted and articulated. Now, whether you're an official judge, like our four distinguished judges here, or a member of our studio audience, you are part of the judges panel. Yes, the audience, we all get one vote as the audience members. So you have skin in the game of what you think about these two debaters. So all of the votes are tallied. We're going to be doing that through smartphones to participate in our audience vote. Stay tuned. After the final round, we will have instructions and a QR code where you, the audience, will be able to participate in the judging process. Very exciting. So now the moment you've all been waiting for. We used to read this script and tell you all about them, and then Richard said one time, why don't we let them talk about themselves? Because as much as you all came to see me, these are really the stars of the show, and we want to let you hear from them directly. So first, we will start with Haight Asher. Come on up. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. You guys can do your thank yous. We'll do one more stop, and then the round will begin. So good luck, debaters. Good luck, audience. You have a hard choice in front of you tonight as well.
Thank you. So, I'm a little short. I'm sorry. There's a lot that I could tell you about myself, but I'm going to try to keep it short because, you know, you're going to hear a lot about me in my speech anyway. My name is Haight Asher. I know, it's spelled a little funny. It's actually derived from a word in Gujarati, which means love, hate. And Hayat, which is how it's spelled, means life and happiness. And I think my name does a really good job of explaining a little bit about me. I know at first, hate seems like I'm a little bit offhanded sometimes, but I promise everything I say here is all in good fun, and I hope you feel the same way when you hear it. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and I did the regionals there, of course, and here I am, and this is an amazing experience. I would like to thank, honestly, everyone here who's in the audience, whether it's my parents for supporting me, for bringing me here, for cutting our trip to India short just so I could be here to debate today. Whether it's Megan for giving me the opportunity to be here and actually compete. Whether it's Wes and Elise, who, helped me understand more about Reagan debate in the past few days that we were here, or all of the judges who've judged me today, because you are the reason I'm here right now. And even my competitors, going up against you, I learned a lot. I made so many edits to my cases today, you have no idea. I'm so grateful to be here, and honestly, just thank you for listening, and I hope you have fun, because if nothing else, I'm gonna make this enjoyable for all of you.
Hey everyone, my name is Jaden Yu. Things about me, well, I have a list actually. No, I'm kidding. To be quite honest, I am pretty simple in terms of what I like. I'm a Houston Texans fan. I grew up in Texas, Houston, Texas, but I currently live in Georgia. My favorite fruit is, unironically, peaches. My favorite dish is a good baby back ribs with some mashed potatoes on the side as well as some mac and cheese. Very southern things. But above all, at the end of the day, I'm just humble. Humble to be here in front of you all, in front of so many distinguished guests. And truly, what other opportunity can you get but to stand within the Ronald Reagan Library and be able to advocate and talk in a civil discourse about issues that truly matter to America. Now, in terms of who I like to thank, well, first and foremost, my mom. She has traveled with me everywhere around the country, debate tournament after debate tournament after debate tournament. It is a miracle that she hasn't just passed the responsibilities to my dad. But lastly, I would also like to thank my debate coach, Mr. Chow. He has been with me for almost 2 years now. And even though that was a short period of time, he has truly changed my life. It's incredible what happens when someone so influential, someone so, to be quite honest, old, is able to transform you by simply giving you confidence. So Mom and Mr. Chow, as well as the people I've met here and friends and family all across the country, thank you. Everyone has a certain cup of tea. For Americans like you and me, we don't like green tea, we don't like iced tea, we don't even like peach tea. No, we all love equality. Equality is our favorite cup of tea. And it is because of equality I stand as a strong supporter of a nationalized system of higher education in the United States of America. But let's first address the status quo, the problems Americans are facing. It is no secret that young people like me are finding it more and more difficult to go and pursue higher education because of the rising costs. To quantify this, according to the Education Data Initiative, on September of 2024, the average cost of college tuition and fees at public four-year institutions has risen by 141% over the last 20 years. This shows that we are facing an epidemic in America, but it is not one that makes you physically sick, but one that makes you financially sick. Americans like me and so many others across the country deserve opportunity, deserve education. And it's exactly why we must affirm a nationalized system of higher education to solve this issue. Because by developing a nationalized system of higher education, we eliminate the disparaged access to universities by reducing the cost of tuition due to the redirection of funds in the federal government for this new program. Yes, redirection of funds. Because let's face it, no one here wants to pay more taxes. No one wants to pay more taxes. We all know that, but we also know that right now within the federal government, there are tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars being wasted by our government on unnecessary and ineffective programs and agencies that do not help the working class man at all. It is why, in order to fund such a program, there must be a redirection of funds from wasteful spending to effective spending to make sure we don't raise taxes on our constituents while simultaneously making sure that there is opportunity, equality in America. But the question is, why should you care? Why should you, families who don't really plan on sending their children to higher education, care? Well, you should care because this brings a boost in economic activity. You see, according to the Federal Reserve in Boston on July of 2007, tax revenues alone from these college graduates are going to not only make up all the costs that the government is going to spend on this program on each degree, but also make 6 times the profit that we currently see in current investments into higher education. To put it simply, by nationalizing our higher education program, not only are we going to make sure that all Americans are going to get equitable access to proper opportunities in education, but we also will help every single American, no matter if you are young, no matter if you are old.
Okay, everyone ready? Perfect. Ronald Reagan warned us, and I know you've heard this hundreds of times today, but he didn't say it. The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." Today, we're debating something unimaginable in the eyes of Reagan. To add 4 more terrifying words, to run your college. In less than 3 weeks, I'll be walking through the Sather Gate at UC Berkeley, joining the ranks of the Golden Bears. Go Golden Bears, right? I'll be part of one of the most diverse systems in the world, in a country known for its academic excellence. But nationalizing higher education would destroy the very pluralism and dynamism that makes American universities exceptional, that makes us the top 15 out of 20 universities in the world. Nationalization creates the ultimate tool of political control that Ronald Reagan himself warned us against. Let me explain. Consider what nationalization actually means. Every curriculum decision, every research priority, every hiring choice flowing through a federal bureaucracy. That same government that gave us the efficiency of the Postal Service would control Harvard, MIT, and Berkeley. That's like asking a tone-deaf barber to run a barbershop quartet. Technically, possible. Musically, catastrophic. President Trump's recent threat to stop all federal funding for any college, school, or university that allows protests actually reveals exactly why we must never concentrate educational control in Washington, of all places. Under nationalization, such threats become direct policy implementations, not external pressure universities can maybe resist. The genius of our current system, flawed as it is, lies in its diversity. MIT pioneered computer science education. Stanford and Berkeley created Silicon Valley's entrepreneurial culture. Small colleges perfected personalized learning. Historically, Black colleges and communities preserved crucial perspectives and opportunities. Women's colleges broke gender barriers in STEM fields. Do you want to be the person who takes that away? Under nationalization, this diversity would collapse into bureaucratic uniformity. One size fits all means one size fits nobody at all. The campus speech crisis proves this point, actually. FIRE reports that 42% of faculty self-censor in discussions, and 87% of students report difficulty discussing sensitive topics. Under nationalization, they agree. There's nowhere to flee when federal orthodoxy becomes oppressive. These numbers will only go up. You might say that putting politicians in charge of all universities would be like giving a Twitter troll the keys to every government secret. You're done for, guys. Reagan understood competition is a process that can be won. Nationalization eliminates competition, which eliminates the incentive to innovate and excel. Our problems stem from insufficient competition, not too much. But let's talk about what nationalization would actually cost. The federal government would need to absorb the entire higher education sector. We're talking hundreds of billions in annual operating costs, plus $1.65 trillion every year in massive infrastructure needed to maintain quality. Who pays for this? My opponent has tried to tell you that, well, the redirection of funds will do it. But I ask, where will a government that's already trillions of dollars in debt get $1.65 trillion more dollars? Where are they going to pull it out of? And they're going to put it into this new system altogether? You think they have that ability right now? Even to pay off that debt, we'll have to increase taxes. So who's paying at the end of the day? It's you, the taxpayers, the average American. All taxpayers, including the majority who don't even attend college. Is it fair to ask a plumber in Ohio to subsidize someone's PhD in medieval literature? That's not equity. That's wealth redistribution disguised as educational policy. Reagan told us, government is not the solution to our problem, the government is the problem. And nationalization would violate not only the government, but also our constitutional values, the 10th Amendment, while concentrating dangerous power in Washington, D.C. Reagan understood that freedom requires dividing power, not centralizing it. Here's what nobody admits. Right now, federal regulations bury schools in paperwork. Federal student loans inflate tuition prices. Federal mandates turn professors into compliance officers. The federalization is the problem. Shouldn't we work away from that instead of towards it? Our job is to ensure that our democracy lasts. And right now, the decision is in the hands of the American populace. We want the best, and the best is not nationalization. Thank you.
As the affirmation speaker, I'll be taking the first question. I wanted to quickly ask, right now, we can all agree that there's wasteful government spending if we were to redirect it all, but more importantly, cut spending right now in the federal government and focus it on this new program. Wouldn't this answer all of the financial issues while avoiding raising taxes on our constituents?
Well, it would, but we don't live in a utopia, unfortunately. That idea, as remarkable as it would be, it's not possible in today's day and age. Because the government is trillions of dollars in debt. Where are they going to pull this $1.65 trillion from?
I believe the $1.6 trillion figure is coming from the idea that that's how many taxes that we are going to have to raise, but not in the context of redirection of funds.
That's not actually accurate. The $1.65 trillion is how much money the government needs to spend to nationalize education overall. That's the amount of money it takes for the infrastructure in the first place. So where is this money going to come from before we even take step into nationalizing education?
You know what? I'll play devil's advocate for my side. And let's say it does cost $1.6 trillion. Here's the question for you. Not as taxpayers, not as citizens, but as mothers and fathers. Will you ever put a price tag on your children's future? Will you ever say to yourself, I'm not going to pay that much for college. I'm not going to pay that much for your future. I know when I grow up, when I have children of my own, I don't care how much it costs. I don't care how many hours I have to work. I will do whatever it takes to make sure my child will have a future in this country. You wanted to ask one more question?
No, go ahead.
All right, perfect. I wanted to quickly ask, instead of trusting the federal government for regulations, isn't it better to trust independent commissions that the federal government can assign in order to figure out what policies can best be enacted in order to address regional issues?
Sure, that's definitely one way we could do this, but that's not the nationalization you're advocating for, is it? What is the nationalization you're advocating for?
I believe the nationalization that I am talking about is in the sense that we are going to absorb all of the costs right now within higher education, but also implement policies that can best advise and help local communities through the advice of these local communities by creating independent commissions that advises the federal government on what policies should be enacted.
So you're saying that you're going to pay the tuition for every single student in the United States of America who wants to pursue higher education?
Like I said, I will never put a price tag on Americans' futures.
But you do realize that this world runs on money. We are a capitalist economy, right?
We are.
Okay, that's time.
Oh, okay. In the 1940s, Woody Guthrie released a hit song that took the country by storm. In it, he sang, "This land is your land, and this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me." Because of this song, it sparked a new generation, a generation of Americans, like many of you in this crowd, that wanted change, that wanted a vision for America. This vision can still exist today, a vision for a brighter, better America. And because of this, a nationalized system of higher education must be ensured. Now, I want to quickly address some of my opponents' arguments in their opening statement before I extend my own. Now, my opponent put it very eloquently and beautifully. We don't want the federal government to decide what we do. We don't want the people at the very top of the establishment, those senators and congressmen in DC, to tell us what is best for us, because how would they know? You see, I'm in complete agreement on that statement. We should not expand the power of the federal government when it comes to enacting policies for our communities, but instead trust our local communities to advise the federal government on what should be done. Because to put it simply, a nationalized system of higher education doesn't need the prerequisites of the federal government being in charge of implementation. No, instead, they could trust local, independent commissions. That way, we avoid a situation in which regional diversity is ignored. Regional diversity, my opponent is concerned with, something I'm concerned with as well. But by creating a nationalized system of higher education, trusting our local independent commissions, your family, your friends, your neighbors, to decide what is best for you and your family, well, I think that there's actually a future there. I think there is a future from our people next door and across the street, instead of states down on over in Washington, D.C., where our senators and congressmen have no idea what is best for you and me. To put it simply, at the end of the day, we need to trust ourselves. And by trusting ourselves, we can trust the federal government to enact our wishes. But let's also talk about opportunities, because that is very important at the end of the day when it comes to education. You see, new academic opportunities would be open for marginalized communities under a system of a nationalized higher education. According to the Center for American Progress on April of 2018, as of this moment, Black, Hispanic, and rural students are disproportionately concentrated in underfunded public institutions or for-profit colleges with low graduation rates. But by creating a nationalized system for higher education, we eliminate this burden. We can expand our institutions for rural students while simultaneously giving opportunities from those from marginal backgrounds, such as our Black and Hispanic and Asian brothers and sisters. Because at the end of the day, this country is a country for all people, no matter what you look like, no matter what you believe, no matter what your walk of life is. A principle President Reagan was proud to champion.
I have 110 remaining for future use if I do choose to use it. Is everyone ready? Perfect. Nationalization of education. It's a beautiful thought, no doubt. However, in reality, it plays out very differently. In my opinion, the nationalization of higher education is like trying to use I-405 during rush hour. You'll be moving, for sure, but it won't be easy. In education, our current system represents those experienced California drivers who know what they're doing, while the nationalized system is like that GPS that never works when you need it to. So let's look at some facts, because we have to. As Reagan said, trust but verify. Here's something that my opponent doesn't seem to consider. The University Innovation Alliance, representing 24 major public universities, has increased graduation rates by 11.5% over the past decade through targeted local reforms. No federal mandate required, no bureaucratic oversight needed, just universities competing to serve students better. With a federal mandate, we take away the university's rights to do this. In fact, I read an interview last week about Dr. Martinez, who runs admissions at a small liberal arts college in Vermont. She said something fascinating. Her school increased low-income enrollment by 340% over 5 years by partnering directly with local high schools. Under nationalization, that kind of innovative outreach gets replaced by a standardized federal program designed in Washington by people who've never set foot in rural Vermont. Now, my opponent will try to tell you that we're going to talk with local communities to make sure that everything works out in our favor, but the world doesn't work like that as much as we wish it did. See, the thing is, nationalization doesn't succeed. There are no new educational opportunities for minorities through nationalized education. In fact, the government actually tried this. The federal government tried to unmarginalize with the Indian Reservation Public Education Act. It failed. The federal government was so far from these reservations where they tried to give free education to 50,000 students that they couldn't do what was best for these students, even when heeding local advice. So if the government couldn't do it with a tiny reservation, how are they supposed to do it with the entire country? But here's the real kicker about costs. The College Board reports that private college net tuition has actually decreased by 2.8% annually when adjusted for inflation over the past decade. The market is working. Meanwhile, every time Congress touches education funding, from student loans to research grants, costs explode. Think about FAFSA. How well does that work? I think all of us who have ever touched it know that it's not necessarily the best way nationalization works in this country. Now, let's talk about other countries. Germany, they had a free university system. It has a 28% graduation rate compared to America's 65%. France, student protests shut down universities for months because there's no competitive alternative. The economic argument is even more damning. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that nationalizing higher education would cost $890 billion annually. That's 40% of our entire federal budget. To put that in perspective, we could fund NASA's Mars mission 356 times over for the exact cost. Is it worth bankrupting America to create the educational equivalent of the post office? However, what keeps me up at night is the political implication. Right now, if Berkeley becomes too politically radical, students can transfer to another UC college. They can choose to go to a different university. But there's nowhere to run under nationalization. When federal orthodoxy becomes oppressive, you won't be able to run anywhere. There's nowhere you can go. It's like having one newspaper in the entire country. It's technically free press, but good luck finding diverse viewpoints. The choice is clear. We have to preserve the educational ecosystem that produced 15 of the world's top 20 universities. Reagan told us man is not free unless government is limited. Educational freedom requires limiting government control, not expanding it. The future belongs to freedom. Now it's our job to keep it that way, and I know you all agree. Thank you.
Now for moderator questions.
Thank you. I've got a few questions here. Let me see if I can condense this. There's been a lot of talk about private colleges and how they would be affected. And I guess my question is, what about the rest of the universities? Like, how does nationalization affect them, help them, hurt them, harden them? I've heard a lot, not just today, right now, but earlier in the day about, we've got the top 15 colleges in the world. How does this affect the rest of the universities?
Does this go to me or my opponent?
Both answer that.
Okay, perfect.
Do you want to go first? Okay.
Now, I assume when you say the rest of the universities, we're not just talking about those top 15 colleges that you mentioned, and not just private or public universities, but trade school and community colleges. Here's the thing. A nationalized system for higher education would be affecting them all, but beneficially. As I have said, we can create local commissions that can task the federal government on what policies should be enacted to help all schools, whether it's public, private, community college, or a trade school. That way, all schools can be benefited from an umbrella by the federal government, while simultaneously having their students not pay tuition.
Okay. I think for me, the question that I want to ask in response to your question is just, what do we care about more? Do we care more about people being able to be free and to do what they deserve to do? Or are we so worried about tuition costs that we're taking away that freedom from them? Let me explain. I think no matter the university, private or public, when government control is mandated, we take away the rights and the abilities for students to be able to say what they want to say. The Foundation for Individual Rights in Education found that 73% of students already self-censor on campus. These are students from public universities, private universities, trade schools, everywhere. Under federal control, that becomes 100%. When every university has to answer to the same mandates, we become a uniform system. We're making clones. We're developing clones of one another. Every university is just going to have the same person step out of there. What our nation is known for is its diversity. As Reagan said himself, the United States of America is a melting pot of cultures. We can't afford to take that away, because then, is America America anymore?
Okay, first of all, great job to both of you. Happy to see you here on the final stage. I have different questions for both of you, so we can start with Jaden.
Perfect.
Could you explain a little bit more about what nationalization means in your world? You talked about local committees, but are the decisions ultimately up to the federal government, and how many decisions will they be making?
That's a fantastic question. I mean, to be honest, anything related to government is confusing. But here's the thing. When I envision a nationalized system, I'm talking about how we structure the United States of America. All 50 states working together under one God, under one country. And that's exactly how I envision this new higher education system. Like you said, there will be local commissions, and they will be able to advise the federal government. But what these local commissions and local communities don't have are the resources from the federal overall. But the federal government does. This means that these local communities will advise the government, telling them this is what we need, here's how you can help. And the federal government, using their resources, because they are the national government, will use said resources to help those local communities individually, avoiding a situation where men behind closed doors in DC makes decisions for all of us. Doesn't make decisions for all of us. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my question for you, Haidt, is that you are obviously against nationalization as a whole, but do you think there are any aspects of the higher education system that would be benefited from being nationalized?
I don't think nationalization has to come from the government, and that's where I think me and my opponent differ, and that's what I think I support. There should be nationalization. There should be a system where everyone works together. But when the government is in control, that leads to oppression. That leads to communism. That leads to authoritarianism. See, the Common App is actually a really good example of something where there's a nationalized system of education. You can apply it to any university in any state, wherever you live, through the Common App, which is, again, a nationalized system to apply to universities. It's something that all of us use as students who apply to colleges, and it's helped us probably save days, if not weeks, on applying to universities. That's a good example of how we can use nationalization, but federal nationalization takes away the rights of individuals to do what they should be allowed to do. Federal mandates oppress individuals, and overall, it's just, the system takes away the rights that students should have to be able to protest, to have free speech, the 10 rights that they have in the Bill of Rights. That's not something we should be able to take away.
So this is a lot of fun.
I agree.
Is my mic on? Good. So I really enjoyed hearing you both. You are Reagan-esque. You use humor well. You're artful and persuasive, both of you, and my question is the same for each of you. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know which of your opponent's questions surprised you the most, which one was the most difficult for you to counter, and why?
Well, I don't think it's particularly a question, but an argument. Like I said before, my opponent put it beautifully and eloquently, something I completely agree with 100%. And it's the fact that when you create a nationalized system, you are inherently trusting the federal government to make decisions for you. Now, like I said before, I'm not a huge fan of the federal government making decisions for me. And it's why it stumped me. It stumped me because how exactly can you create a nationalized system without the federal government making decisions for everyone? But I figured it out. You don't need the federal government to be having to make the implementation in the idea of it in the first place, but instead that can befall upon these local communities I talked about. And instead, the federal government, through nationalization, can focus more on execution, on using the resources properly and effectively while learning from the communities around them. The overall federal overreach is something that I was stumped by my opponents, and I have to say, I applaud her for making that valid and necessary critique.
I think for me, the argument that, or rather the question that my opponent asked during Cross-Ex would be when he talked about a mother and a father, when he asked you, he addressed the audience, as parents, what would you not do for your kids? How far would you go? I think that definitely tugs at everyone's heartstrings here. I know, my parents, they'd do anything for me. Look, they're sitting right there for me. And I know that they will continue to do that for as long as I live. But the thing is, as much as we wish that they can do everything for me, I do have to step out of my comfort zone one day. And I feel like that's the beauty of what my opponent asked me, the question that my opponent asked the audience, that although it starts with parents, when we are talking about a federal education system, we are also talking about what we can do for ourselves and what we're able to do once we step out of the comfort zone that our parents have provided for us. They'll pay off my loans, sure, but I have to live my life.
Great. First thing that I like to say is congratulations on making it this far. It's no easy feat, and listening to you guys for the first part of this debate has been great so far. I have one different question for each of you. So Jaden, I'll start off with you. You mentioned earlier, and you kind of, like Haight said, tugged on all of our heartstrings that, what would you not do for your kid, right? But when you come back into reality, and you mentioned that absorbing the $1 trillion is worth it for your children, how do you expect the future parents to really pay for it? And if you don't, and if it's for redistributing funds, where are you getting those funds from, and what are you investing it into?
So let's look at this in two lenses. First of all, I think this figure of $1.6 trillion, I'm not sure where the source is from, but I feel like it's overestimating the cost that this would take in order to relieve the tuition within our country. Let's look back, not even 4 years ago, in the previous administration. The Joe Biden and his cabinet enacted policies that forgave student loans. Now, all over the news cycle, we saw billions and billions of dollars being poured into forgiving student loans for millions of students across the country. Millions of students. Many students who were drowning in student loans were able to have it being forgave. So that's a metric we can go off of. Joe Biden being able to forgive millions of students and their student loans by simply implementing billions of dollars gives us an idea on how much it'll cost to pay off the tuition for all Americans. To put it simply, I think the $1.6 trillion is a bit of an overestimate. But let's just say, in the second lens, and I'll play devil's advocate again, that it is the real figure, that is how much it is going to cost. Now, like I said, we could redirect funds, but you were asking how exactly will we be able to, number one, redirect funds if there is not enough, and two, what programs would we be investing it in? Well, I believe we could put this in a priority list. Maybe we don't have enough funds that are currently being wasted that can be poured into this new program. However, we can prioritize the programs that we can fund first until we find the necessary funds. For example, we can prioritize to pay off as many college tuitions as possible. Maybe it's only 50% of the population, maybe 40%. But to be quite honest, if there's just one child who is now able to smile because they have their bachelor's, because they have an education, because they are the first person in their family to go to college, I say that is money well spent.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Hey, I'll go to you. You mentioned in your opening that nationalization would cause wealth distribution rather than actually fixing the topic at hand. So my question is, aren't we already dealing with some type of wealth redistribution and some type of economical factors since the elites are overcrowding so much of our top universities and just universities in general? And do you have a fix for that?
I agree that that's definitely a problem, but what I can tell you is nationalization is not the best way to fix it. There are definitely other ways we can do it. In fact, according to Milton Friedman, who is a Nobel Prize-winning economist, he rejected nationalization and he proposed something brilliant. You can fund students and not institutions. You can give qualified students vouchers that they can spend at universities. You can let schools compete for those students by offering better education instead of better lobbying. And the reason this is better is simply because nationalization gives too much power to the government. As Ronald Reagan said, you can't be for the little guy and be for the big government as well. And we want to be for the little guy. We want to be for every American citizen. And I know my opponent and I both agree on that fact.
I'm going to say words that you likely have never heard someone say out loud. I am privileged. I am privileged in the sense that my parents are hard workers, both my mom and my dad, and have always put 110% into their responsibilities, making sure our family would never have to once worry about having food on the table, a roof above our heads, or the lights staying on. These are privileges I recognize I have been blessed with throughout my entire life. But I also recognize that these are privileges that many children across the country do not have and are struggling to find the opportunities to gain them. It is why I am wholeheartedly in support of a nationalized system of higher education in the United States, as we give opportunities to those who have never had the privilege to get a chance to begin with. But let's just recap and answer the biggest question in today's discussion. Should we keep the status quo, or should we fight for a better future? Now, in today's discussion, me and my opponent have brought up many different statistics, many different facts, and to be quite honest, we could go on for hours, if not days, talking about different facts and sources that prove how our side is winning in today's debate. But I want all of us to forget all of that. Forget all of the sources. And I want to talk to you not as a debater, but as an American. I want you to look back in our country's history and think of a time in which we ever laid on our backs when faced with an issue. During Ronald Reagan's presidency, it was during one of the scariest times, not just in our country's history, but in human history, the Cold War, where at any moment the United States of America and the Soviet Union could enter nuclear war. Now, what did Ronald Reagan do? What did the Americans back then do? Well, they didn't hide in a closet. No. As a matter of fact, President Reagan went to Berlin, and against the advice of all of his speechwriters, he said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," right in front of his front lawn. If that doesn't show you bravery, trust in this American experiment, then I don't know what does. To put it simply, as Americans, we have always faced issues head on. We have always been brave. But most importantly, we have always taken action, put up a fight to fix an issue. And like I said, if we make a mistake, then we'll get right back up and do it again over and over and over until we succeed. Because that, at the end of the day, is what it means to be an American. So to answer the question, should we keep the status quo or fight for a better future? I say we fight for a better future. Because by developing a nationalized system of higher education, we make sure that all students can be given the same privileges others have. We make sure that there will always be equality in America for the young. We make sure that this land is truly made for you and me, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land has always been made for you and me.
Thank you. I have a minute and 10 left for prep time. I'm going to start it now. Thank you. Is everyone ready? Honey, I forgot to duck. When Ronald Reagan said this after taking a literal bullet, he was talking about an assassination attempt. Today, I'm talking about dodging the metaphorical bullet of federal control over education. And my friends, this shot could be fatal to American excellence. Reagan warned us that the government's approach to everything is simple. If it moves, tax it. If it continues to move, regulate it. And if it stops moving, subsidize it. That's precisely what nationalization does to higher education. It taxes innovation, regulates excellence, and subsidizes mediocrity. You want to know why Texas universities lead the world in energy research? Because oil fields and wind farms surround them, not Washington bureaucrats. Why does MIT dominate artificial intelligence? Because it's embedded in Boston's tech ecosystem, not federal committee meetings. Why do small liberal arts colleges produce the most creative thinkers? Because they can adapt to individual student needs, not standardized federal requirements. Under nationalization, every university gets the same generic curriculum designed by a bureaucrat who thinks that innovation comes with an instruction manual. It's like forcing every restaurant in America to serve the same government-approved menu. Is it food? Sure. Would you eat it? Not so much. Reagan knew that the best social program is a productive job, while the best education program responds to local needs, not federal mandates. When universities can specialize, compete, and innovate, they produce graduates who change the world. When they become federal agencies, they produce graduates who change oil in their bureaucratic machinery. Here's what Jaden here doesn't understand. Diversity in higher education isn't just about demographics. It's about institutional diversity, HBCUs preserving crucial cultural perspectives, technical colleges training skilled workers, research universities pushing scientific boundaries. Nationalization homogenizes this beautiful ecosystem into bureaucratic uniformity. And that too unconstitutionally, against the 10th Amendment, which my opponent doesn't even consider. When I walk through Sather Gate next month, I'll see students from 100 countries and 50 different walks of life, all drawn by excellence born from competition, diversity created by choice, innovation sparked by freedom. My opponent wants to replace that magnetic attraction with federal assignment algorithms and standardized mediocrity. The choice is yours. Preserve the educational ecosystem that produced 15 of the world's top 20 institutions, 63% of all Nobel Prize winners from all universities and all walks of life, and the most innovative economy in human history. Or hand it over to the same government that gave us the efficiency of the customer service of the IRS. As Reagan said, man is not free unless government is limited. My opponent is asking you to take a shot in the dark. I'm asking you to keep your eyes wide open. Don't let them take a shot at American education, because maybe this time you won't be able to duck. Thank you.
Nice job. Very well done. Good job. All right, thank you. A round of applause for our finalists one more time. So as they're gathering their things and the judges are making their final comments, we have an opportunity for the audience to log in and vote. Don't forget, you're not necessarily arguing or voting for one side or the other. You're arguing for the one that did the best job debating, as you saw in the video earlier. You should have a screen to my left rolling in front of us. If you're at home watching on TV, go to menti.com, MENTI.com. Your code is 72430359. If you're in the room, you can obviously go to the QR code on the screen. You guys have to get out of the way so everybody has the chance to get the QR code. Can you see it, everybody? Yes? And while the judges finish, we'll take a few minutes and we will allow you all to vote. Remember, Jaden was the affirmative, Hate was the negative. It's like voting for the Grammys online. We'll give it 2 more minutes. If you haven't voted, please do so. All right. So as we wheel the TV screen out of the way and we continue our voting, I'm going to actually turn our attention to our quarterfinalists tonight. So we had a number of students start off the day debating. We narrowed our contestants down to a final 8. We have scholarships to award, generous donations of the Hilton Foundation. The following people, the following students will be awarded a $2,500 scholarship to aid in their future studies in college. Will Alice Goldberg come to the stage? Alice, please come up. Alice, come onto the stage, please. Thank you. Where's Alice? Where is she? Oh, there you go. Come on up. Matthew Timchenuk, come on up. Peter Mandacina, please come up to the front. And Arabelle Conant, please come up. Very good. All right, so those are our $2,500 scholarship winners. Now we have 2 students to call to the front. We'll announce them individually. Our finalist, who is in 4th place, receives a $5,000 scholarship. Vendeka Danoshkaya, come on up. Our 3rd place finalists, with a scholarship of $8,000 coming to her, Libby Hancock, come to the front. And with that said, we're waiting for the final numbers from our ballots. The best part about this day is we can award scholarships. So the next 2 scholarships are worth $10,000 and $15,000. Not a small sum. Yeah, big round of applause. Our runner-up this evening, receiving a scholarship of, as I said before, $10,000, Jaden, please come at the front. And that leaves Haight. Come on up to the front. $15,000 scholarship. Our national finals winner. Okay. Will our debaters please report to my left for photographs Everybody else in the audience, it's been an honor to have you here. It's nice to have our national finals over. We'd like to ask all 14 debaters and our judges to come to my left for photographs, please. The rest of you, there's an amazing dinner downstairs. So if you have a chance, please descend to the first floor. Dinner awaits. Thank you for being here for the 2025 National Ronald Reagan Debate Finals. Have a great evening.